Back some old faces and some new faces. Yay for new faces. We love this. Um, for those who don't know, my name is Shari and I'm the chair of the Education Committee. And for those who do know me and have been with me the past few years, I asked Heather for a co-chair this year, and Heather assigned me the wonderful Carla. And say hi, Carla. Yeah. Um,
Hi, friends.
so for tonight, we're going to keep it easy. I want to keep this introductory, especially since we have a number of new members tonight. Um, we ended the year, we ended last year by going through the budget requirements, which we submitted earlier in the summer. And we spoke about that as a community board early in September, so you should all be well familiar with that. Does anyone have any old business to discuss from last year? No, going once, going twice, sold to the highest bidder. Um, okay, great. So what I'd like to do is start with introductions this year. I'm going to start with myself, and you can say your name, how long you've been on the board, what made you interested in the Education and Youth Committee, and we'll go around the WebEx. So my name is Shari Rolnick, and I've been on the board for 6 years, 7 years at this point. And I was drawn to the Education and Youth Committee because I remember my experiences growing up in the public school system and all the trials and tribulations I endured. And I wanted to help the next generation not have to deal with the same issues. Ari, are you available? If not, that's okay. We'll move on and we'll come back to you. Kavish?
Hi, good evening. My name is Kavish. I've been on the board for about 5 years now. I decided to join the Education Youth Committee because I work in schools and I also went to in this community. Um, and I also do like a lot of like civic work with the youth. So kind of um, works.
Very nice. Thank you. Gary?
Hi, everybody. Good to meet all of you in a more intimate setting. This is the first committee that I have attended. I am new to the board. My interest in this area comes from I'm a 15-year educator, and also I run an education nonprofit, a citywide nonprofit. So maybe particular perspective can bring to the conversation.
Absolutely. What's the name of your nonprofit, out of curiosity?
It's called the City Tutors. We think of ourselves like an educational subway, building a public good that serves the needs of communities historically underserved by offering, in effect, a free MetroCard to individualize personal and professional skill development. So we do a lot of virtual tutoring and career mentoring support, but we also partner with in nonprofits in communities and build out programming there as well.
Beautiful. Well, welcome to the committee. Carla?
Hi. Sorry, technology is trying to thwart me this evening. Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Fuentes. I joined the board in April. I live in Rego Park. I'm the mom of two little girls, and I wanted to join the education committee because I am on the school leadership team of the elementary school that my girls go to, and I got really involved in some of the educational stuff that we've been working on at school. And my husband was also a kid that grew up in this neighborhood, and he used to talk about just like how there weren't a lot of opportunities for kids. And so I wanted to not just focus on schools, but also like play spaces for the tiny humans that live in our neighborhoods and that we all are working on growing. So, uh, yeah, I'm super excited to get to be co-chair with Sherry. Like, I love this stuff. So I'm really honored to get to be on your team now.
Thank you. Diana.
Can you guys hear me? It's been a great break, but now I'm really happy to get back. It's been exciting being a part of this committee and working with Sherry alongside. I would hope to be able to make some more changes, as you said, everyone here. The children are our future. I think that's the most important part of our aspect of life, right? Making sure that the tiny humans have the right foundation. We can really make it something lasting, and with the great people we have here.
Thank you, Diana. Martha.
Hi, I'm Martha. I've been on the community board for 5 years, I believe. I also co-chair the Parks, Recreation, Libraries Committee, and I'm glad to be a part of this committee because education is very important to me. I also currently work as an academic advisor to one of our local colleges, St. Paul's School of Nursing. So I'm right here at the office working a double day and night shift.
Nice.
You know, I'm very, very dedicated to education because without education, you really don't have a future.
That's certainly true. Okay, thank you, Martha. Jessica, are you able to? It's okay if you can't. I remembered what you said earlier. All right, we're gonna move on. Heather?
Hey, good evening. Sorry, I was juggling tonight and my dryers in my building weren't cooperating. So unfortunately, I had to go down right as the call was starting. Most of you know me. I've been on the community board since around, I believe, 2018. And I started doing my civic work for my community through the school leadership team at PS 174, and I kept being a parent member throughout my kids' career to the point where I have about 13 collective years racked up in serving as a parent member to SLT. Um, and Education has always been something I've been always very concerned about. I actually studied education in college. So this is something that I think is really important, and I'm really glad to be here tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes from here. Thank you all for serving. Thank you all for making time on a Monday night.
Thank you, Heather. Liz.
Hello, I am a new board member in addition to being new to this committee. So thank you all for having me. Personally, my mom is a retired New York City public school assistant principal. I was born and raised in Queens, went to public schools in Queens. So, and I'm interested in this issue area generally. And then obviously, you know, my son just started a 2K program, and soon he's going to be a public school kid in this area. So I'm really excited to learn more and do what I can to contribute to the community in this area.
Thank you. Ari, can we turn back to you? You available? Okay, that's okay.
Hey, sorry. Trying to do childcare at the same time. Hi, Ari Feldman. Sorry I'm not on camera. I'll try to get on camera later. I don't even, how long have I been? I'm not actually on the community board, but I've been a member of this committee for, I don't know, Heather, how long? 6 or 7 years at this point, I guess. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, sounds about right.
um, yeah, I ran for community board. I applied for it a few times, didn't get it, and I was like, you know what? It's really just the education committee I want to be on anyway. So fine. Um, but I work in education. I have done a lot of different jobs in education as a classroom teacher, as somebody working in the like policy at the central office. I now am an instructional coach, so I help teachers teach better. Um, I am also a parent of two daughters who go to 303. And
Have we say hi?
no, my fourth grader wants to come say hi. I don't know if you can hear that. Uh, um, and so I've also been working on parent advocacy in the district, really since just pre-COVID. There was, for those who've been around for a bit, there was a diversity planning process that became very divisive, and realized that there are a lot of problems in our neighborhood with racism and inequity. And so I have been working with parents for, at this point, 5, 6 years on trying to foster more equity in our district.
Foster.
Thank you, Ari. And for those who are new to the committee, in previous years, Ari has also helped us by giving us the CEC updates. Ari, if I don't know if you're willing to continue that tradition this year, but if you are, I really appreciate it.
I can certainly try.
Thank you. I'll hold you to it. Okay. I think that's everyone except for Jessica Purin, but I don't know if she's able to talk now. Jessica, are you able to talk? All right, we're gonna move on. So I wanted to talk about issues that this committee as a whole would like to work on this upcoming year. I think having some goals set would help us be more productive going forward, and also would help us to focus on what our budget priorities will be for the following year. Does anybody want to start the conversation? Does anybody have any recommendations as to what issues are pervasive, what issues they've noticed in the community? I'm opening the floor. All right, I'm going to call on Kavish.
All right, yeah, I was just waiting to see if anyone else had anything, but I did notice that there's like a discrepancy between DOE, the New York State Education Department, and the UFT. So the New York State Education Department and the UFT refers to these workers as teaching assistants, and that's what the certification also says. But the DOE classifies them as paraprofessionals, and that language discrepancy kind of like can create issues. Minor, major, but maybe minor, but create some issues and confusion. So I was just, well, I was personally working on a resolution that I was going to bring to this committee to discuss. But I mean, I shared that with the co-chairs, and we could circulate that and discuss that, in the future. But that's something that I just want to share.
Thank you. Do you have any suggestions in addition to the resolution as to how that could be handled?
I do think that we should understand why, that language, difference even exists, and kind of understand, kind of see like, what changing that would even do. I've spoken to some people in like some elected officials' office to kind of understand why that language discrepancy might exist. So that's something that we could do as a committee as well.
Kavish, when you spoke to some of the elected offices, did they have any insight as to why they started using the term paraprofessional? Or
No,
what
yeah,
the impacts would be of us advocating for them to change the name to be in alignment with the UFT language?
yeah. So that's I think it's the first step, and that's what I was trying to understand.
Interesting. I'll say that I spoke to the parent coordinator at PS 174 today, who's also on CB5. And I mentioned that you were working on a draft resolution about that. And she said, I was always confused by it because she said, I was always taught that like my title was teaching assistant. So that when I came here as the parent coordinator, I was referred to as a paraprofessional. She said, I never understood why, because she said it implied to me that there was not training involved. She's like, am I half a professional? Like, I don't understand. Why do they call me that? And she said, because you do have to go through training to be in a position like this. And I was always like, us and the other paras here all have some sort of teaching credential that they had to go through. And
Right.
so she was also, when I mentioned it, she was quite interested.
Okay, well,
I'm glad you even brought it up because I wouldn't have known it was a problem.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, I think we do need to understand why the language even does exist that way. But it does create confusion, like between admin and like staff.
Oh, sorry,
Thank
just a
you.
quick question
Yes.
about that. So, sorry, so I mean, maybe this is a little too early in the process, and so I'm sorry because I'm new and still learning, but is there something that we're trying to aim at through a resolution that would be different than just like the normal like ask Christine to like talk to the Department of Education and like find out what the distinction is? Like I'm trying to understand like what the difference is in terms of like a resolution versus just like fact finding via Christine.
Fact finding is more for the committee itself if we need more information before we make a decision as to how to progress or who to contact. A resolution is when we want to take a stand and ask the agencies or local politicians to make something happen. And we're letting them know what our stance is on that particular issue.
Okay, got so we'll hear later from Kavish about what his resolution would be that he would want to take a stand on.
Well, what he would want us to take a stand on, it would really be presented by the committee itself, and then the board as a whole would sign off on it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Kavish, thank you so much. That's not something that was on my radar at all. So thank you for bringing that to the table. Anyone else before I start calling names? No? All right, y'all. I'm gonna start randomly calling people and asking what you want to work on. Gary, do you have a particular issue that you would like to see this committee work on this year?
I think it would be helpful for me to know what the limits of our scope are as part of the education group. Like, where does the age range end? Because my interests, especially, are typically about and better preparation of learners for graduation and and what comes next during the pandemic, especially high schoolers. They started working more to support their family members. Some of them stopped going to school. A lot of them experienced learning loss because of the pandemic, but also after them recognizing work was just a better thing for them to do than go to school. There was more impact on their families. And so as we came out of the pandemic, it became really important, I think, to more urgently think about how does school prepare you for what happens next. Certainly for the youngest grades, it's all about just foundation building, social emotional growing. But as we get closer towards, as we get into high school and start preparing for that next step, not just college, but just mm, how are we helping folks take that next step? What is the local schools doing for that? That would be my interest. Where does trade fit in? Where does like how are we working with businesses? How are schools working with businesses to bring them to give perspective, so that there's a sense of yeah, my learning is going towards something that actually, especially for first gen, for immigrant community members in this area, they're thinking about that. They're thinking about helping their family members more than anything.
I mean, can I take that question, Sherry? Is that okay? There's a lot here to unpack as far as how they're prepared, and it kind of intermingles not just with the DOE but also with the youth agency for the city. So when you're talking about local businesses and preparing them and so on, one of the programs that you that we could maybe and some of this could be just learning what the DOT did, what the not DOT, what the New York City schools, because that seems to be the new name, is doing to prepare them. So there is summer youth employment program that kids can apply for through lottery, which does help kids prepare for a future in work, getting a job and so on. The problem is, one of the things that we do know is there aren't enough opportunities. I know last year they were scrambling to get enough, and then some of them that some of the assignments the kids got, they weren't necessarily as enriching as they had hoped. And the good news is that the New York City that New York City Public Schools and the youth, I can't remember what the name of the agency is right now. The youth agency is well aware of these problems, and they're working to fix them next year. And that's always good for us as a community board when a fellow agency is actually aware of their shortcomings. Other things as far as preparedness goes, what I can just share briefly is that it really varies school upon school. You know, our high schools are so diverse that how one school prepares kids is different from the other school. And some of that has to do very much with the scope of the school. So if you have a school that's dealing with culinary arts, some of that may be job placement, and some of that may be having them look to maybe further their career and go to Johnson and Wales and other schools. It could look like that. When you have kids over here at Edison who may be getting more hands-on type of work, again, how they prepare them for that future is very different versus how Stuyvesant might work, or the 4 or 5 different schools within Forest Hills High School. So I mean, we could try to reach out maybe to find out you know, what the overall scope of what New York City Public Schools does. But in regards to specific schools, even like within this area, again, it's a very diverse, which is good because it gives our kids choice. But how they prepare the kids for different futures is very different depending on the scope of the school. Does that help answer some of your question?
Um, I think it begins for me, the conversation, if this is even something that is of interest to this group. Certainly I have a lot of interest in it. I do work with SYEP, I work with DYCD, I work with all of
Thank you. DYCD.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, my brain. Thank you. Go ahead.
I also do placements and like do the preparation. So those and the fact that there are these shortcomings, all of that is very much, it's all across the city. how are we able to support better our community here? And is there partnerships, alliances that are possible that can come out of this that strengthen those agencies' ability to serve the local spaces?
Yeah.
Like those are interesting questions for me.
Yeah, and maybe we could get DCYD, and thank you for helping me remember that, to come in and do a presentation on their summer programming. They have presented, I know, to Borough Board, to all of the chairs, but I think it might be good for them to come to a community board and present to us as to sort of summer youth employment, what it looks like specifically in our district, where they feel the weaknesses and strengths are, and to see if there's anything that the board could do. I know that a lot of organizations that take leadership in this district have really been supporters of summer youth employment. Common Point has always provided placement opportunities. The Queens Community House has. I know that Rachel Agner Chocolates, who runs Metro Village, has had opportunities as well. So I know that there are various opportunities throughout the district that some of our leaders have, and maybe it's just a matter of trying to find more opportunities for our young people. And I think it is unfortunate here that it seems like some of the employment opportunities are rather limiting until you get to be almost 18. And so I think that too is problematic, where some of the opportunities are limited based on the law. So I think that is something that you guys could maybe add to your list of recommendations when you Carla and Sherry, when you send it to the office, is to maybe see if we can get a presentation from them at some point. And I think getting it done earlier this year might be better, before they're in the throes of all of their work, because this would be probably more of a quiet time for them with the agency.
Agreed. Carla, you have your hand up?
Yes. Gary, I love that you brought this up. My husband would describe himself as a poor immigrant kid that did not have the opportunities to have an internship or anything along those lines when he was growing up. And his first jobs were through the summer youth employment, including one summer where he sat on a corner and counted cars all day. But at least that was like a job opportunity for him to put on a resume that helped him build upon. And so if we are trying to help support not just the tiny humans that I have crawling around my house, but like at some point we want them to grow into successful adults that can be a contributing part of this community, I love that we would actually focus on this being one of our issues, and seeing how, because the youth at 16 and 17, like, they're not the cute ones anymore, and they are often kind of overlooked. And I think us focusing on ways to give them an opportunity, because some of them, aren't going to choose to go to college. I think this is a great idea, and I would absolutely love to have a presentation from DYCD, so we could hear what's going on, and even if there's anything we could do in our own community here to help.
Yeah, and I'm happy to pitch in however I can.
Yeah, much appreciated. I think that's a really good thing to focus on this year. I'm writing it down, sorry. I think we should make that definitely a priority. Carla will talk about that outside and come up with a plan. Okay. Martha, do you have any suggestions for this upcoming year?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I think that the summer employment is a great place to start. I think that we should really look at how the education cuts have impacted our schools, and see if we can find solutions on a local level, as opposed to waiting for any more federal funding, which probably will not happen. And let's address the real issues that are happening right now that the cuts are real, the cuts happen, and we are below money. So maybe we can do some grassroots things as far as getting involved with the local community, maybe getting like local scholarships for funding for, pre-K, aftercare program, summer programs, stuff like that. Because we have to make up the money on a local level at this point.
Agreed. Ari, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify a little bit. So, in terms of federal funding, the only thing that the DOE has lost currently is magnet school funding, and there are no magnet schools, as far as I know, in our community board district. I could be wrong about that, but that's like so far, like most of the funding that we get from the federal government is like special education and Title I, and those kinds of things are pretty hard to change, which is why Trump hasn't done anything about it yet. But the DOE, also remember that less than 10% of our budget comes from federal funding. It's mainly, it's about like 45-45 split, somewhere in there between state and local funding. So I think the defunding that has happened has mainly been because of the Adams administration having cut back on things. And I think we also have to kind of keep our eyes open when it comes to funding. A big portion of that funding coming up is going to be in funding more teachers, since we have the class size reduction law that's coming into effect over the next couple of years. So that's going to cost the DOE a lot of money. So we need to see, what are they going to do? Are they going to increase the budget for the DOE, or are they going to be making cuts elsewhere to pay for it?
Yeah, well, for sure. Go ahead.
The funding I was really concerned about would be the supplies, with such as like new computers, accessible laptops for everybody, Wi-Fi, books in libraries, library equipment. All of that has disappeared. I've seen it on my level. So I was just seeing that if we as a committee can find ways to just reach out locally or through our local corporate affiliates to find ways to bring extra money. A lot of time, grant writing is a great way to do so. And there's so much money out there. It's just, writing, locating it, and finding the names of who to contact and inviting them in to see what we do as a community and how we can be helped.
For sure. One of the ways we can do that is through the budget priorities. By the way, that's a great avenue to bring money to the local schools to get those types of things. I was talking with Carla before this meeting, and I had an idea that we should do a survey and reach out to either the local schools or to local parents in the neighborhoods to see what those needs are. And I think this falls right into something we can ask people about and get more information on, at a local level. What do students really need? What do our schools really need? What's missing?
Well, if I could just share real quickly, because last weekend I just got the presentation sent to me. I had a presentation last week to the borough board in regards to funding for the SCA's 5-year plan, 5-year capital plan. And so right now the SCA has things pretty much set in stone for the next 5 years regarding a lot of what we are discussing tonight. I'm trying to find the slide that pertains specifically to District 29. So our school district is 29. So to give you some ideas of things that they're going to be looking to pay for, they're looking to pay, it's going to be like $4 million for exterior masonry, 5.3 million for flood elimination, kitchen areas, 104,000, paved areas, 3.6 million, roofs, 8.4 million, room conversions and partitioning, 2.5, school safety, 2.7, toilets for students, 200K, windows, 9 million. And then as far as auditoriums, they're going to be doing 31 auditoriums in the district at a tune of 7 million. Electrical upgrades at 870,000, library, 4.7 million, playground, 7.7 million, science labs, 4.4 million. And so they do have some of this in hand at the time. And a lot of this gets paid for in a variety of ways. So I think, and the other thing I wanted to share along with this, the capital plan, and I will send the presentation out to Carla and Sherry for distribution to the committee, because I literally got it like 5 o'clock this afternoon or 4 o'clock-ish, is I want to also share the fact that we're a city agency, we're advisory. So as far as, you know, working with other organizations within the community to come up with this funding, you know, that's why we reach out to the people that we have. We reach out to our city council members. We reach out, which we have plenty now, and our assembly members. Usually those who have the most that can help us are city council members, but we can also try to reach out to other folks. But I wanted to share some of that information with you guys so that you guys are seeing that SCA is, you know, does have these plans projected. They did not cite any issues at this time. There are continued, the schools most affected in our area is the work is ongoing at PS 174. They're doing some work at 157. And then of course, the eventual completion of an annex that's going to be provided at Forest Hills High School in 2029. Along, and there's some other projects that are happening, but as far as like additional capacity seats, those are the 3 projects where you're getting more seats. So that should help with a lot of this. And I'm going to be quiet now because I've seen some hands pop up
Yes.
while I've been running my trap. And they're in order. I don't know if Carla and Sherry know this, but WebEx is kind of cool. On the list, it actually shows you who raised their hands and in what order.
I've actually been watching.
Okay.
I know Liz raised her hand first, then Diana, then Ari, and then Carla. So I'm going to go in that order. Liz?
Yeah, thank you. Just as we're talking about this, I also wanted to see if there's anything that we usually do regarding the participatory budgeting cycle, because, or if that's something we encourage folks to be a part of if they're concerned about, say, like the issues Martha brought up, like a school that maybe doesn't have enough laptops or that doesn't have enough art supplies, because that's the type of thing that would be perfect to try and get on the participatory budgeting ballot to get a school some extra money. And I think right now we're in the phase of idea collection where that is, you know, during a participatory budgeting meeting, like it would be great if there were specific schools affected that could use that extra help, and we would be able to maybe help with some outreach and let them know that this process is going on. I think that's helpful for those kinds of issues.
Yeah, we typically let the council member lead that process. And the challenging part in our district is right now, we have Lynn Schulman, who does participatory budgeting. Bob Holden does not, and he's got a chunk of schools in our district. And I don't think Joanne Ariola doesn't have a school in our district. And James Gennaro, who also has schools in our district, does not do PB. So for the schools that are in our district, I definitely recommend it. When PS 174 was in this city council district, Lynch, Karen Kozowitz, I did PB with Karen Kozowitz's office back in the day, and that's how we got a lot of bathrooms at PS 174.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something parents need to connect in. Unfortunately, it is not an option for some of our area schools, which is really
I didn't
sad.
realize that. Yeah, I guess
we have been circulating. We do circulate to our mailing list, which is rather large. Everything that comes across for PB, both to board members and to our distribution. And we also do post in our wall, on our door, on our window, I'll get the right piece of building, to the window as well for people. So we have been, spreading the word.
Great. And then I did
Great.
have an unrelated question, I guess, or it was with what Gary was bringing up about the law about class size. And if people are being responsive to Martha specifically, then I can let them get answers first. But I did want to know globally, when we're thinking of new ideas for the committee, kind of a background of like what the committee maybe has thought about these laws that were passed, or any prior action, and if there's anything we're following up on, or if that would be something new that we want to check in and see what the city is doing with things like the class size law, kind of like where we might already be in the process as a committee.
Yeah, so for the past few years, we've actually sent a number of resolutions to the local politicians, and including the DOE, and I'm trying to remember who else, Heather. But I also know that the office and Heather have been following up on this matter. But this is something that has been a high priority for this committee. We will keep following up on it.
What is encouraging is to see some of these additional seats in places that they are sorely needed. Are they going to be enough? We really don't know. We're trusting the way the DOE is running the program is that the principals, of course, are going to decide if they have enough space, and those plans have gotten studied by Tweed and so on, and they've looked at those plans, and if they need more seats, I'm sure they will make those investments. I know that, and I find it interesting that, for instance, Halsey, who didn't think they needed space, are now having a small, humble project, but that will get them a couple additional seats here and there throughout the school. So, and I'm not sure again what's being done within the school to make that happen, but I know that that's happening. So those are all really good things. But again, because I think too, we have to consider the fact that we're in sort of what I like to call the fold. We're in that time where we have a mayor phasing out who will not be reelected, and we don't know at this point. Any poll you listen to, God only knows. And so they each have very different plans and different thoughts about how they want this to run. So depending on what shakes out will also very much shape what this work does, because education is always I think it's always going to be one of those top issues, and so we will have to respond accordingly once that takes place.
And
Thank you.
Diana, I'm so sorry. Diana, I know you had your hand raised and it looks like it's been lowered. Do you still want to?
The question I had was pertaining to the 2.7 that's allocated in the budget for safety. And stop, Liz, I'm sorry. And my question is, what is actually itemized, or if that's even something that we know, to what falls under that budget? I'm just curious, and why I ask is because, as we know, Title VI is something that's been put out, for schools on a college level and university level. But my curiosity about safety here is because there is something I'm working on right now, and I don't have so much to share yet, but I would like to bring that up, obviously, as this progresses, because it does pertain to DOE schools. But again, that's my question, is the 2.7 that's allocated, if there's itemizations for that. My curiosity kind of, peeked onto that.
I think most of it is going to be centered around, equipment, monitoring equipment. There's been a lot of schools that have, a lot of schools have added, sort of ring camera type devices. And some schools that are older may need more cameras, more strategic placement of cameras, upgrades to that equipment. That is what I believe is going to be involved in that. They didn't say that anything was going to change in scope in regards to safety, and that has typically been what that covers.
Got it. So it's like CCTV and all that, like equipment based, not like actual personnel, security personnel.
No, because that, again, as we know, this is their capital plan. So it would be for that type of thing, whereas that would have to be a part of their expense plan.
Makes sense. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Ari and then Carla.
Two quick things. One, just to clarify, school safety is in NYPD's budget. It's not DOE budget anyway. So any safety things would be separate from that. And then one other clarification from before, Heather just misspoke, and I want to make sure everybody is clear. It's we're in Community District 28. For
I'm
this.
sorry, I read the wrong
with-
numbers.
Okay.
I get city
Yeah, 'cause
council
Lynn
and I
Shulman
get
is-
school district.
Yeah, because Lynn Shulman, City Council 29.
Thank you. I can give you guys an updated number. I'm sorry. This has been the most Monday of Mondays. So District 28 will get cafeteria upgrades in the amount of 666,000. It's actually, here's the funny thing. Multi-purpose room and cafeteria upgrades in the amount of $6,666. Yeah, it's all sixes. It's just not a good thing. So I really hope the project goes well. Exterior masonry, $3.4 million. Parapets, 2.3. Roofs, $11.7 million. School safety is $4.2 million. Toilets, again, $2,000, and windows at $10,000, $10 million. So I am sorry about that. And then let me find what they're covering for the Reso A money. Give me just a moment. Maybe I don't have, yes, there we go. So it would be auditoriums. They're doing 22 science labs for 7.2 million, 6 playgrounds at 11 million, library upgrades 5.5 million, 14, 4 different electrical projects at 331, and auditorium upgrades at 23.5. Now we have to remember that District 28, and thank you, Ari. God, what would I do without you people? We have to remember that these projects are throughout District 28. They aren't strictly CB6. So this is both the north and the south part of the district. So this is both our schools and the schools in our neighboring districts. So just to make that clear. And they did not give me a line by line itemization of which projects are happening in which schools, except when it came to expansions. So Ari, thank you.
And for clarification, for those who are not familiar with the districts, we have a really huge geographic district that really winds all the way. So it starts in Rego Park to Forest Hills, Kew Gardens, goes through Jamaica, South Ozone Park, goes through Richmond Hill, all the way through South Jamaica and Rochdale Village. So it's like all the way basically to the Belt Parkway. So it's really, really big and not compact at all. So just for some clarification.
Thank you, Ari. Carla?
Ari, I really appreciate the clarification there just now because I didn't consider how geographically diverse the schools probably are in their needs. And I love that the SCA is spending so much money on all schools, but I do think it's interesting. I think the nuts and bolts of what Martha was talking about, that at her suggestions of like the things that schools need would all fall under like an operating budget or an expense budget versus the capital budget that we're seeing from the SCA. So I can see how there's still the money for capital projects, but there could potentially not be the kind of operating money that would really impact schools. Just to kind of shed some light on how the SCA's work impacts the ability to implement the new school laws. I worked with Dr. Lewis, who's the principal at PS 174, to help her submit the plan to implement the new class size law at 174 for this school year when we submitted it last year. And we didn't find out until April that it wasn't going to be approved because the SCA wanted to do a roofing project and an electrical project at the school. And so the entire old half of the building was going to be under construction for the next couple of years. Ergo, we wouldn't have the class space that we needed to implement the class size law. So this, I think, really is a bit of like, we have to have it's a chicken and egg situation, but really you have to have the space within the schools to be able to have smaller class sizes. So I think that is certainly why the SCA's work is important to us. Like, I never thought I was interested in school construction, but if we do want to implement smaller class sizes, we have to have additional classrooms within these buildings. And one of the best parts of our neighborhood specifically is that it's old and established and like has a lot of character. And the downside of that is there's not a lot of space for building additional classrooms within our campuses. So anyway, I just wanted to shed a little bit of light on it. I know, like, I'm not sure which other schools were able to implement the class size law very so far this year. I know we were kind of devastated that it wasn't able to be, and it was also because they needed to upgrade the electrical that is about 50 years old and probably a fire hazard at this point. Back to you, Sherry.
Carla, did they have any response as to what their plans will be to remedy this, considering they need to focus on the roof and like, is there another plan in place?
So we were told, and I mean, I can speak from being an SLT member, they're already behind schedule because they were supposed to do the entire roof and upgrading the gym and the auditorium this summer when the students weren't there, and they did not. So that's super frustrating because one of the SC, like, it's sometimes it feels like, and this is just in my experience, but when the SCA presented to the SLT at 174 their plans, they're like, and we'll need to take the gym out of commission for 6 months. And the principal said, excuse me, no, the children need to do things there. That's how we keep them from crawling the walls. So she said, you may have the auditorium and gym to redo the electrical, the HVAC, etc., over the summer, but you may not have it during the school year. Hence why the work is supposed to be done over the school year or the summer, and it was not. So I think that has become part of the problem. They did show us their plan for which phases of the building they were going to close off at different times, but I haven't seen an update yet as to where we are in that timeline. So that's a little bit concerning. I would love to have them present at some point to us about where they are in the process and what the timeline does look like for some of those schools. I know that we saw a presentation from them about the expansion for Forest Hills High School, but I would certainly be interested in seeing how it's going to be, how expansions are going to allow for additional classes in the other schools in the area.
Heather, what would it take to contact all the local schools to find out where they are in the process?
That's really not the way we go about it. It would really be, because we're coming at it from multiple lenses. The New York City Public Schools has to do all the recruiting and hiring for the teachers to do that. So that's one component. The other component is to make sure that the buildings are prepared and ready. And as we hear, just in one building alone, you've got such a level of complexity. So as far as readiness, we can't just go to just every school. It would be better for us to reach out. And I hate to keep pointing this out, but also, depending on, as we saw in the debate last week, there are differing approaches to this. You have some mayoral candidates who are fine with upholding the law, but you've got other mayoral candidates who are very fine not upholding the law. And so that's problematic. And so how this will be approached from a mayoral standpoint, whomever gets in this job, will dramatically affect how this gets completed. I mean, we already know that in a sense, in regards to comparatively other parts of the state, we're behind. But other parts of the state have what we don't. They have space, right? So they can build add on. So some of them may even have, with some of those populations dwindling upstate, like I've seen in the town where I went to high school, they're able to use some of these rooms because some of these schools that had been built previously were bigger than the populations that they serve now. So that's great for them. We're behind. So right now we're waiting on a lot of things. And so this would be something that I think is worth digging into, but I would actually table it until we actually know what's happening. And we're just a short week and a day away from knowing. But what I think would be best to do is to sort of reach out to the district, to the school district. Because again, when we think about how we gain this stuff, going school by school is fine, but it's just a lot of work for the office. And I think we'd get a much better snapshot of our part of the district if we reached out to the school to the district office.
Okay.
For 28. 28, not 29 people. 28.
That sounds good. All right. I think we're done with that topic. Yes. I'm going to move on to Serena. I haven't heard from you all day. Do you have any ideas as to what you would like this committee to work on this year? Serena, you there? Okay, I'm gonna move on.
Sherry, I have made Carla host of this meeting. You are co-host. I have to log off because I have to hop onto something else. If you have any questions for me, you can feel free to follow up with me an email, but when I log off, it won't kick you guys off. Okay? Everyone, have a wonderful meeting tonight. Thank you so much. Good luck, Sherry and Carla.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to who did not go. Diana, do you have any? I don't think we asked you if you had any issues you want to touch on this upcoming year.
No questions on my end.
Okay. Did anyone not go? Carla, did you have anything else you would like to focus on for this upcoming year?
Not that I can think of when I'm put on the spot, but I love the priorities that we are already talking about. I think these are really good and probably going to address components of things about the schools and impacting kids that we wouldn't normally have talked about. I don't have a fully fledged idea. I do know that it seems like we're focusing a lot on the schools, and maybe there is something at some point we should focus on out that impacts youth outside of the educational arena, but I can't actually think of a specific topic off the top of my head right now.
That's okay. I think we covered a lot tonight, and we have a good foundation to start with. So we will. It's 8:04, y'all. I think we're going to stop for tonight. And meet again next month, and we'll have a plan in place as to what we're going to do. What's everyone's schedule? What works best for you for November and December?
For me, Mondays, same time, work best.
Mondays, okay.
Mondays for me as well.
I can do Mondays.
Mondays? Does Monday
Yeah,
work
I don't
for
mind that at all.
Okay.
This is Serena. I can also do Monday.
Serena, does Monday at 7:00 work for you? Or do you still have that class?
I do. I have class until 7:30, but as soon as I'm done, I log on.
Okay, so maybe would everyone be all right if we push the time to 7:30? All right,
Yeah, no
let's
problem.
do that. Just looking at the calendar, would we, do you want to meet, let's see, on November 17th? Does that work for everyone?
November 17th, you said?
Yes.
That
I
This
can't
is-
do that because the low
that a
traffic
month?
neighborhood subcommittee meets that evening, unfortunately.
That's okay. What about the 24th?
That works for me.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Would everyone like to be
I wouldn't be
consistent?
available.
I'm sorry?
The Fund for New York is holding a ceremony for STEM teachers. I was part of the selection committee. It's being held in Hall of Science, and so I will be unavailable that day.
Unavailable that day. Okay. Is there another day that everyone is available? Would Tuesdays work or Wednesdays?
Ready?
Wednesdays are very difficult for me for the next few months.
Understood. The only other option would be a Thursday. And I don't know what everyone's schedule is like for Thursdays in general.
I can't do Thursdays.
You can or can't?
I cannot. Sorry.
Okay.
How about
Alright, so
Tuesday,
Gary,
November 18th? How about the day after the proposed 17th? Could we do the 18th?
I could do the 18th.
I can't do 7:30 on the 18th.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think
I know it happens at every committee we
it
go to.
does.
I feel your pain. I get it.
Would it be easier if we sent out a doodle poll to everyone and let people pick their availability, and then we'll just go with the majority? Is that easier than?
I think that's a better idea.
Okay, well then we'll do that.
To ask also Christine what's available, because I know a lot of those dates get closed very quickly.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
But last I checked, a lot of those dates were available. But I will have to check again.
Okay, we'll send out an email to the committee as soon as we're done here, with a doodle poll so that we can figure out what works best for everyone.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Motion to
Thanks,
dismiss.
Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night. Night.